Like to call this meeting to order Tuesday, September 2nd. It is 6 p.m. This is the Marquette City Planning Commission. We'll start with roll call and
Harvard Rayner.
Pass me.
Williamson here.
Christine Hunter. Jane Whitman here.
Steve Laurie here.
Dallas Butter here.
and Kevin Flake is here. Is there a motion on the floor, or can we get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Everybody have a chance to look at that.
I'll motion to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
All right. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, let's go to minutes. I saw that there was no names associated with the motion regarding street planning. I don't remember. I believe Commissioner Lowry was the one that was the first motion. I do not remember who seconded it.
Yeah, my notes, I didn't have a second for it. I didn't catch who made it.
I think I did.
Okay. I know that there was a second. Okay.
There's another, not an omission, but an error in on the first page where it says at the top, a video of the meeting is available. We weren't able to capture that video. There were some problems with the internet connection or something. So
Okay.
that's gonna get struck.
And then, the spellings of the public commenters are off. I can,
Well, we didn't know.
oh, yeah, I can but it was had question marks, so I know the correct spellings, so.
Okay, if you can pass them on, maybe it'd be good.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Are there any other things that people catch? All right, then by consensus, are we votes?
I was just gonna move to approve the minutes with those corrections.
Oh, sure, perfect. We just by consensus.
Well, if they're okay, we usually do, but
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second
All right. All those in favor of the changed minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Are there any conflicts of interest this evening? Oh, all right, seeing none, we move on. We have no public hearings. Are there any citizens wishing to address the commission on agenda items? All right, seeing none, we can move on. Old business, or we have no old business, new business. We have a final site plan review for 07 SPR 0925, 01 PUD 0325, Magnet Street Townhomes. Andrea or Dave, you wanna run us down on the packet?
Alrighty. The Planning Commission is being asked to review an application for final site plan approval for a mixture of townhome types located at the south side of West Magnetic Street between Lee Street and 4th Street. This portion of the property received PUD approval from the City Commission on June 30th, 2025. Attached in the packet was a staff file review analysis. Recommended action, the Planning Commission should review the site plan and support information provided in the packet and determine whether or not the site plan for the construction of a mixture of townhome types, 1 unit, duplex, triplex, and 6 unit, for a total of 36 units and site improvements for 07 SPR 0925 is in compliance with the City of Marquette Land Development Code. More specifically, the PUD final site plan standards in section 54.323J and K, and site plan review standards in section 54.1402E. Staff also recommends that the Planning Commission should consider appropriate conditions of approval to ensure that any comments provided by staff and which the Planning Commission concurs with and have not been answered by the developer are addressed. We provided recommending 2 conditions of approval if that's how the Planning Commission would like to proceed. So please take a look at that. On screen is the staff review report, which outlines the PUD process in the Land Development Code and the site plan review standards. And per the PUD, the applicant requested and received the variances that are stated. All the attachments. The PUD application, site plan review application. The applicant's responses to the preliminary PUD and site plan review staff comments. Then the applicant's responses to the final site plan review staff comments. The area map. The block map. Photos of the site. The submitted site plan. Lighting cut sheets. Per one of their comments, if they're using that to meet the lighting requirements in the code, it actually has to be in the site plan set. Then also a draft of the PUD contract. I don't have the final contract because I don't believe it's been recorded yet. But this is the draft that is partially signed. With the Exhibit B of the City Planning Commission meeting minutes of June 3rd. And the City Commission meeting minutes of June 30th. And that is it. Did you guys have any questions for staff?
Commissioner Meyer.
Just one, Andrea, on your comments regarding fencing. Basically, is it just that city can't give them permission to
Encroach past the lot
encroach
line and
the
on someone
neighbor's lot
else's.
line, but if they can work with the neighbor and keep the fences attached in some way?
Yeah, we don't have a thing where we allow for it to go over the lot line. So they'll have to show it on their property. It'll have to be relocated to be on their property.
Or the neighbor has to have a permit to.
And it has to meet the neighbor's code to be able to have that type of fence and all that there.
Okay, it's just, it seems like we could be creating problems by opening up gaps in fences that are presently connected.
Well, the neighbor could always add an addition onto their fence if they wanted to do so, but we can't allow for any encroachments.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for staff? All right, at this time, I'd like to hear from the applicant about any substantial changes from the final site plan review? Or from the final PUD approval?
Hi, Michelle Thomas. Do you need my name and address?
That would be great.
203 East Arch here in Marquette. There are no substantial changes from the approved PUD. Regarding the fences, I think our plan is to just put them back exactly where they are now. Then that should be what's shown on the,
On the site plan, it shows it's encroaching over your lot lines.
oh yeah, we're not gonna do that. We'll move them back.
That's what that was the responses to the staff comment, is that you are going to put the fences on your site.
They will be on our site, but where they are now is on our site. When we only know this because the VLP, for some reason, went out and staked the corners. So the corners of the neighboring lots, that fence is probably like 5 feet off of the corners.
Okay, so it's shown incorrectly on the site
I
plan
think
then.
there's one, not all of it had been staked. I think it's more of the west end
Okay,
where it falls on top of the retaining wall of the neighbors right now. So that one would have to be moved in, but that's in like phase
And
3.
certainly we'll work with the neighbors to make sure that they still have the same level of privacy that they enjoy now.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Anyone?
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. I'm assuming there's no notice, no correspondence.
Correct.
No public testimony on this one since it's not a public hearing. Start off commission discussion. Does anybody want to have anything to say? All right. Yep, Commissioner Pickens?
I guess I'm not sure if I'm saying this at the right time, but I just want to make sure, it seemed like staff comments made sure that the landscaping plant materials are current with the current code. Is that the case? Because it does use the old ones in this site, or in this site plan. But then I saw your comments where it was like, oh, actually, these few are actually prohibited, and they said they'll change it.
Correct.
Okay, so that's,
Yeah, so this new site plan is submitted under the code now. So yeah, we have to follow the code now.
that's all.
No substantial changes to this PUD, so we can go through our site plan review standards. Number one, public safety, health, safety, and welfare. Uses proposed will not harm the public health, safety, or welfare. All elements of the site plan shall be designed to take into account the site's topography, character of the adjoining property, and the type of site and size of buildings. The site shall be developed so as to not impede the normal and ordinary development of improvement or improvement of surrounding property permitted in this ordinance. I don't see any problems with that one. All right. Safe and efficient traffic operations. Safe, convenient, uncongested, and well-defined vehicular and pedestrian circulation within and to the site shall be provided. Drives, streets, and other elements such as walkways shall be designed to promote safe and efficient traffic operations within the site and at its access points. Anybody have any questions on that one? I do appreciate that the site plan was altered from 1 to 2 and got rid of the access points on Piqua. I think that was a great call. I don't know on that one. Topography and landscaping. Oh, no, sorry, I skipped one. Vehicular and pedestrian circulation. The arrangement of public or common ways for vehicular and pedestrian circulation shall be connected to existing or planned street and pedestrian or bicycle pathways in the area. There shall be provided a pedestrian circulation system which is separated from the vehicular circulation system in order to ensure public safety. Special pedestrian measures such as crosswalks, crossing signals, and other such facilities may be required in the vicinity of schools, playgrounds, shopping centers, and other uses which generate a considerable amount of pedestrian traffic. We have no schools or playgrounds or shopping centers near there. I think that's good. Topography and landscaping. The landscape shall be preserved in its natural state insofar as practical by removing only those areas of vegetation or making those alterations to the topography which are reasonably necessary to develop the site in accordance with the requirements of this ordinance. Landscaping shall be preserved and or provided to ensure that proposed uses will be adequately buffered from one another and from surrounding property. We've got a landscaping plan that we've seen and what comments were discussed. Any other comments from anyone? We're good? All right, stormwater management. Appropriate measures shall be taken to ensure that removal of surface waters will not adversely affect neighboring properties. For the public storm drainage system, surface water on all paved areas shall be collected so that it will not obstruct the flow of vehicular or pedestrian traffic or create standing water. For applicants, stormwater system disposed of underground storage chambers, reduce stormwater runoff to the city system. Happy with that? Anyone else? All right. Emergency and vehicle access. All buildings or groups of buildings shall be arranged so as to permit emergency vehicle access as required by the fire department and police department. Police and fire department has no comments, so I have no comments. Outdoor storage and loading, and unloading areas. Yes.
Just a comment I had brought up earlier on, our initial review of the project as far as making sure the addresses for the buildings that are in the back are clearly visible and good for traffic. Those are gonna have a very few addresses. And you can see it's probably quick.
On the ones that are behind on Pequot. All right, I think that's reasonable. All right. Outdoor storage, per the applicant, all outside storage areas, including refuse storage stations, shall be screened from the view of the street and or adjacent residentially zoned properties. All loading and unloading areas shall be reasonably screened. Roadside collection, you guys are using a garbage can system, so no screening is necessary. Lighting, exterior lighting shall be arranged so that it is deflected away from adjacent properties and bodies of water so that it does not impede the vision and traffic along adjacent streets or impair navigation on the waterway. Flashing or intermittent lights shall not be permitted. I have no thoughts on the lights that are chosen, so meet our code. Location of building entrances. For consistency in areas where adjoining properties face the street, the commission may require that primary structures shall be oriented so that their main entrance faces the street on which the lot runs. If the development is on a corner lot, the main entrance may be oriented to either street or the corner, or to the corner. I have no comments on that one. All right, nuisances, no noise, vibration, dust, fumes, or other nuisance shall leave the property in a manner that affects the surrounding areas. I did have a comment or a question on that one. During the construction process, the people, the neighbors had made some comments about vibration, and Commissioner Primo, who was here before, was talking about using compactors. Is there any way to reduce the vibration that those people are going to experience when the concrete is removed?
I would be pretty surprised if it was as intensive as what they experienced with the demolition of the hospital, because those were massive buildings on huge footings that were going underground. And what we have here is asphalt. They're only parking lots right now, so they'll mill up the asphalt, they'll take it off. They'll level the ground, but I don't think that there will be like a lot of smashing and compacting and that sort of thing, any more so than you would see in a routine construction, like a home.
Okay, so significantly less than the experience.
I would
Your expectations.
That would be my expectation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would
we
that be
have
yours,
to do,
Ryan?
yeah, we have to do compaction over the new utilities we put in, just like you do when you're putting in the street. You know, so it's that typical thing. The other thing, we're doing this in 3 phases. So we're not gonna demo the entire site all at once and
That's
leave a bunch of dust and, we'll leave part of that for lay down area. And then we'll have a temporary storm area in between construction locations too, that'll have additional runoff area, and that will get temporary CME so that, so you're not getting the dust disturbance.
Okay. That satisfies me. Any other questions on that one? All right, moving on. Number 11, City of Marquette Engineering Design and Construction Standards. The site plan must comply with the City of Marquette Engineering Design and Construction Standards. And we saw in the packet the applicant's response to engineering comments. And if anyone have any questions on that one. All right, well, all right, yeah, for my review, it's met. Do we have a motion? Is there a motion on the floor? Commissioner Lowry.
I will move that after review of 01 PUD 0325 and 07 site plan review 09/25, final site plan dated and received August 5th of 2025. In the staff file, review analysis of 07, site plan review 09/25. Planning Commission finds substantial compliance with the City of Marquette Land Development Code and hereby approves the site plan with the following conditions. That an amended site plan is submitted to meet staff comments, particularly concerning lighting, landscaping, fencing, and engineering details, and that an as-built plan be submitted after construction is completed.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Wilkinson, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add one comment on the record? I just wanted to say that city staff has been extremely helpful throughout this entire process. And I'm not just saying that to butter them up. They have been very helpful, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know that they are a resource to help us and not get in our way. And so I just wanted to say that both Dave and Andrea
Mostly Andrea.
were very helpful on this. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks.
thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, moving on. Are there any citizens wishing to address the commission on non-agenda items? All right, seeing none. We have no correspondence, reports, minutes, or reports,
Maybe we should
no
switch.
trainings.
You mean the
Move
PowerPoint?
to our work session.
Switch.
Presentation for signature.
Yeah, I gotta open that presentation up.
Okay.
Did any of you all send Kevin ideas on changing? Okay. Okay, so I haven't changed anything since the last time we looked at it, but we need to finalize it, 'cause I think I need to get it to the manager's office tomorrow. So take another look at it. Okay, so I didn't, I think I had a picture that I had in there previously, but I don't, maybe it's in the, yeah, that was good. Oh, you don't want to leave it in there? That would be pretty funny to tell the city commission you're Sam Wesganji. Yeah, that's a picture I took from the stage at Blueberry Festival this year, which is pretty cool. That guy waving is our former city chief financial officer who moved out of town this summer. So let me go back to this. I don't know what happened here.
You're in PDF.
So yeah, I do need to remove Wayne. Unfortunately, Wayne just abruptly decided he was done.
Can
I-
I add to that though, just
Yeah.
because I think that he might reach out. So I don't know if taking that off right now. Just
Oh,
because I
he's-
saw him the other night.
Yeah, he's resigned though. He has,
There may have been some confusion, and I'll talk to you after.
okay, well, he sent us an email saying that please accept this as my resignation, and that's been submitted to the clerk's office and all that.
You would need to be
So,
Reappointed.
reappointed and then re-sworn in.
yeah,
So, at this point, he's not.
If he had said, I'm gonna quit the planning commission, but he didn't say I'm resigning immediately in his email, that would be different, but he did say that. So anyway, I was gonna say, Wayne has told me, just, for your information, Wayne has told me several times over the past year or so that he was thinking about quitting. And just, he was on the planning commission for, I don't know, seven or eight consecutive years. And then before that, he was on the planning commission for at least 2 terms.
And he was on the BZA as a member as well. So he has served through all the different boards throughout the years.
But just on the planning commission alone, I think he was 15-ish years, probably 16 years. He was the chair at one point about 7 or 8 years ago. He was the chair for a couple of years. And so he's, in his early mid 80s, so, believe it or not. I think but moving on, I think we should probably take the slide of Sarah out of here, unless we're going to put one of Wayne in here too. Wayne doesn't have a band, so I don't know, it won't be as interesting.
Are we gonna send a letter of thank you to Wayne for all the years?
Yeah, hopefully the city commission is going to recognize Wayne. Yeah, he put in a lot of time. So again, just we have I guess this isn't negotiable, but the concerns certainly are. So if anybody sees things they want to change here, speak up.
I gotta say, after our last meeting, there was an e-bike accident on 4th Street. Somebody was walking on the sidewalk about 10:30 p.m. and a drunk person on an e-bike came flying down the hill and hit them.
I heard about that.
Knocked them down.
So it's a good thing they've got a task force going for that issue right now. Yeah, the draft micromobility plan, it hasn't been made available for committees yet that I know of. So that still applies. Staff has provided some comments on it. One thing that's come up in the past, just this week, I think, just today, so that would be just today, is that we found out the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, which funds the Redevelopment Ready Communities program, which Marquette has, earned their recognition for being a redevelopment ready community by meeting several standards that they wanted communities to meet to get that status. They have money for some, I think they're called fellow or post. I think they're postgraduate students that are going to be, I think there's 12 that are going to be placed in different communities to help with, I think principally with climate action planning. So we're evaluating whether or not we are going to be able to take one of those fellows on for that position. I won't get your hopes up, but I just wanted to mention that it's a possibility. It's not free. It's something the city's got to come up with some funding for. So that would probably be the biggest hurdle for us, is to get that funding lined up. But
is that something that we could advocate for funding on this document in the presentation?
Well, you might just mention that, if it would help to have an intern or something like that, whatever, the city should probably take whatever action they can to so that we can get the plan created.
Okay.
We're probably looking at doing that in-house. Either way, I mean, we're probably not going to hire a consultant to help us do it, because we had a consultant create a guideline basically to create a plan already. So it's something our staff could do, although honestly, the biggest impediment to getting that done is probably staff, because there's some staff that probably thinks we're doing enough or doesn't necessarily want to go any further than we've already gone in that direction.
Commissioner Lau.
Just related to that, if the city's gonna do one, I think it needs to be more all-inclusive than what the counties did. It was kind of disappointing in the counties that focused on just a fraction of their operations and didn't mention most of the county operations.
Like the airport, yeah. And the road commission, yeah. The stuff about lawns and natural landscapes, it really doesn't belong in the planning commission's set of concerns, because it's not strictly a planning commission concern. It's more of the city commission's concern, how they're going to deal with this. Obviously, I think all of our staff, so our staff is involved because we have to enforce certain portions of the city code that uniformed police officers are not going to enforce. So between Public Works and mainly our office does the enforcement, but Public Works will end up mowing some people's property if they don't comply in a reasonable time that we provide. So it's not really necessarily a Public Works issue either. It's a city policy. It's in the city code, and the Planning Commission has no say over the city code, how the city code is written. But if you feel compelled to say something about it, you can, but it's not really a Planning Commission issue. It's not something addressed in the community master plan or in zoning. It's not a zoning issue. Mowing lawns is a issue of the city code's creation.
Do you think that this is more than mowing lawns? Is this about creating natural landscapes? I think that would be which the community members would be more heavily laid upon.
Right.
Ideas.
Right.
But still not.
It's the community's responsibility to inform the city commission what they think about it, not necessarily the planning commission, which is an advisory board for the community master plan and zoning issues. That's kind of my point. Doesn't neatly fit into the planning commission's realm, but we had people here to talk about this, so I put that in there as an item that we could use to reference. And when we were talking about this at the last meeting with the people that came to talk about it.
Do you think though, it might be good because you are asking for clarification if we do have community members come here, because I think that was the issue. They didn't know where to go to and what the rules were. And so being a part of the community, the city's receiving information, whether it be planning, zoning, going to the city commission. Somebody's got to have, it's got to rest somewhere.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You could take this back to, if to your point, to clarify, it would look something like this, right? Just this is the PDF. Just to maintain adjacent terraces, the first part, clarify what can be planted and the responsibility to maintain. But that's already in the city code. That is, there is not a whole lot of, this is the trouble for our staff, is it's pretty clear what it says.
Yeah, but at that point in time, what
It's-
they had spoke of was a certification, and because of the
Yeah.
changes that happened, there is no longer certification, and so the community members don't know who to go to.
Yeah,
And those that are coming to give the site, review or ticket or whatever it is, are like, I don't know what certification you're talking about. And so there's a
Mhm.
disconnect.
yeah. That may or may not be true.
I think that is true.
I'm not
think
gonna-
it should have been sent back to the city commission, because they're really, that's where the buck stops, is with the city commission. And by bringing it to us, it almost looks like then it's our responsibility, and it really isn't our responsibility.
This could be an opportunity to get it off of the planning plate and say, hey, we've had some questions about this.
Yeah,
We'd like you to review this. The paper certification that is being requested in your city code, in the city code, is not available. So it needs to be addressed.
And communication between the different people handling it. There needs to be like.
because we can't really solve it for them, because we're in the wrong place.
Commissioner Lowry?
I would advocate for deleting it from the presentation because, bring it to them, they're likely to assign it back to us, whether we have responsibility or not.
Yeah.
And
Good
create more
point.
confusion than clarity. And, I think anybody with questions can go to the planning department, the manager's office, maybe the police department needs to be updated on it if somebody isn't there asking questions. But I don't, when they can go to the commission meeting, I don't think we want to step in the middle of it anymore than there's provisions of the ordinance, or there were, I think they've been removed at this point, but I'm not sure. And so you have to shovel your sidewalk by a certain time of the morning. And,
I think it's confusing. I understand their plight, but they need to be able to get answers, not just sent to another meeting,
and I think it's a matter of educating the city staff who might encounter them in day-to-day business, not here in the meetings. I think David Hendry can send out an internal memo or something if you need to, but I think if we present it to the commission, they're likely to present it back to us.
That is a fair point. I agree.
I totally agree. I think it's just not good for our consumers. I mean, I want to make sure they get their problem addressed, and we can't address it.
Didn't they say they were going to the city commission next after they were here?
Yes,
anyway?
they did.
Oh,
They didn't appear at the last meeting. So maybe they'll go to the one next week, next Monday. Yeah, the issue, I've advocated, we talked about this couple of weeks ago, and I advocated that our staff and the engineering department and the superintendent from Public Works ought to meet and talk about what we are allowing in the right of way and how to describe it. Because really, from time to time, it actually changes. I hear people say different things over time in different ways. So it really needs to be described in a policy, because the city allows people to plant flowers in the terrace areas, in the right of way between sidewalk and the streets. They've even allowed people to put in some minor, what we call kind of permanent structures, like landscaping timbers to create little small retaining areas for flowers and soils. Those are super simple, that city engineer isn't worried about that. That the thing it's not hard to remove. What's difficult sometimes is if they have, like Steve brought this up at the last meeting, if they have to go in an emergency situation to get to a valve or a broken water main, sometimes they have to tear that out and they don't have time to give people notice. So, I mean, I guess that's fair, for everybody. You take your chances if you're putting it in the right of way, but some people don't understand that it could be taken out at any given time. But we have people that want to put a lot more on the permanent type of stuff in the right of way. And then there are procedures for that. You can get a license sometimes if you're willing to pay a price and go through the process to put something more permanent in the right of way. Although that's really limited what you can do there.
And even with the license, it states if the city has to remove it, you're the one that.
Yeah.
We're not liable for that.
And I tried to create a policy on this. Like I wrote up a 6-page kind of thing, like to say what should be allowed over the right of way, under the right of way, on the right of way, depending if it's permanent or temporary. It was not successful in getting, I wasn't given the permission to present it to the city commission. Somebody, one of the department heads was tasked with that, and it never was even brought to the city commission. So that's the kind of challenges we have internally.
Thanks for doing that work, yeah.
I would just put on it, and maybe it's no longer an issue since we don't seem to be getting winters anymore, not like we used to. But historically, the city has gone in with large equipment and removed all of the snowbanks from those right-of-way areas, the boulevard strips. And, it's a front-end loader mounted blower that basically scrapes a log. If there are large rocks or boulders put there for landscaping or timbers, you're talking about damaging a $500,000 machine or better. And I mean, it was a big issue when I ran the department. We would go out in the fall and find those, tell people they had to take them off right away for the winter, or if it was something that couldn't be moved, we had to put stakes in Marquette and then couldn't remove snow from that section. And then the neighbors would get all their snow hauled away, and those people wouldn't, and they'd call and complain, but we couldn't do it because of what they had buried in the snowbank. So, I mean, it's there as a snow storage area, it's there as a utility placement area. And you want it to look nice and you're asked to maintain it to look nice, but it's a shared responsibility thing, and it's serving multiple purposes, and some of them are going to be in conflict with each other.
So the part of this that does apply to private property, we are having, Steve has said this has been an issue, since he worked for the city. It's always been an issue, but really seems to have exploded in the past couple of years with the natural landscapes. And maybe part of that was, we did want to encourage it and did work with the county conservation district to provide some certification. We were never informed that they weren't doing that anymore. When this lady came and said that at the last meeting, that was the first I've heard of the fact that they have told somebody that they're not doing it anymore. But we did know that they were just basically giving people the signs that said, I'm a pollinator garden. Our understanding was they wouldn't give those to them unless they came out and looked at their lawn and saw that they were managing it for invasive species, and making sure they weren't, harboring any spotted knapweed or wild carrot or whatever is on our list, or their list. And we've tried to work with them on creating a more up-to-date list of noxious weeds than what was in the city code, because the city code noxious weed list probably went back to the 1940s or something like that. Anyway, so it is problematic for this. Just today, we had somebody come in and get in a long argument with our enforcement officer about the fact that his flowers got mowed because he didn't. I don't know the details. I didn't listen to the whole conversation, but it's really becoming a problem as more people seem to think that they don't, if they just let it wild stuff grow, that it's natural and they don't have to maintain anything. So hopefully the city commission is hearing about it and they know that we need to do more work on it. I know they're hearing it from my supervisor, department head Dennis. So anyway, it sounds like the consensus is to remove this from the presentation.
I think so.
Okay. The item below here is, our request as staff, because in the past, we've had to deal with a lot of people and, just that basic reminder. It's good to say this. And I think we've been getting a little bit better with people calling in, a little bit better compliance from the community with at least calling to find out if they need a permit before they do things, because we've been sending out the reminders in the water bills now for a few years. And we did have a pretty, I think, bad year last year with some particular cases that were pretty tough for people to deal with. But that's why we want to say it, because if it ends up you build something big and it's illegal and there's no way to get a variance for it, you're faced with having to tear down something you might have spent thousands of dollars to build. So the other things here are, that's what they say they are. Again, all this is up for whatever kind of amendments you'd like to make. Oh, yeah. This comment was in here last year about winter walkability. It's kind of a snarky, sarcastic comment. It's improving because winters are getting warmer. You should probably take that out. They've heard it before.
I like it.
It's still true.
Okay, leave it. But yeah, what Steve said about that's another thing the city code says, and it's not enforced, that you're supposed to remove snow by 10 a.m. or something the day following a snowstorm or within so much time. What would be nice to see enforced is that people who plow snow into the sidewalks are actually ticketed. And that's something I've been advocating for with changes. There's been lots of changes to the city code in the last year or so. I keep poking. We need to enforce the part about not obstructing the sidewalks, and maybe specifically say with snow. There are rare situations where, the snow comes down so heavy in such short periods of time that the sidewalk's like your only place left to put snow. And actually in our zoning ordinance, we do, or the land development code, there is an exception for that, like even with the clear vision triangles, because there was a situation like 4 or 5 years ago in February where we got 70 inches of snow, and it was like every other day we're getting 6 inches of snow, and people ran out of places to put it, and it just wasn't fair to ticket people for that for a while.
I would like to know, how is it decided which streets get this, or which sidewalks the city staff will
The plow routes.
plow routes?
Maybe Steve can answer that.
Well, the other side of my street does, but not my side.
Initially, for a while, we were doing one side of every street in town that had a sidewalk.
Okay.
That got to be too expensive, but budget cuts and everything, so policy was back to, we were to plow 2 routes into each school and business district. And so basically, I went out and I took the machine to determine what obstacles were in the way, where it would fit between the power pole and the retaining wall or whatever, where the curves were too high for it to climb over, because we didn't have a lot of ramps in yet. And basically, I mapped out a route met with the school transportation director at the time. And it hasn't changed a whole lot since then. I'd say that was probably around 1990 or thereabouts. It's been expanded a little bit as things change, but it was, where did it fit the best and where did it make the most sense that you weren't creating extra problems for people or having to cross traffic too many times. There are places where there just is no place between the sidewalk and the curb to stack the snow, so if there's a better spot on the other side of the street or undeveloped property on the other side of the street that you can blow it onto, that's, not gonna generate complaints or something.
Mhm.
Sometimes that was the basis for it. I mean, there have been a lot of sidewalk improvements since then, particularly with the installation of ramps at the intersections, because that was an issue back then. We had some 9-inch curves to climb over that, she just wouldn't do that.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I think the roads have changed very little since then.
Okay.
Gotta move to the other side of the street.
I think that had something to do with whether there was south and north facing,
Yeah,
and
well,
which one's gonna melt fastest,
Yeah,
so
the
we have
ones-
to do it the least.
the ones on the north do melt faster and you get more storage space on the boulevard that way as it melts down. There's more place to store the snow on the south ones generally. So yeah, it was something that, was one of the factors in there, but very minor one.
Farmer's Almanac says it's gonna be a horrible winter, so there you go.
I will add to that about 10 years ago, our department did organize what became a city commission meeting called us. We wanted to organize it as a snow summit to have all the big transportation agencies, NMU, MAP, school district, the city, and some other folks in the community to talk about how snow removal is done and see if there are any ways that we could kind of combine efforts or economize on our efforts and get more done. And it really didn't result in any changes, unfortunately. What was the city commission analyzed the financial part of it, and they really came to the conclusion that, we're at that point where the money spent doing sidewalk clearing is accomplishing what it's accomplishing couldn't be improved with a small amount of extra funding. It's that we're at the point where you've got to put a lot more money into accomplishing a little bit more. It's kind of, an unsatisfying outcome, but we're hoping to see if, we could really accomplish more without having to spend a lot of money, but that wasn't the outcome.
The recommendations for walkability, as we talked about snow removal, could we add on there that maybe enforcement of people to remove the snow from their sidewalk, or
I'd be in favor of
notice
that.
it also? It sounds like you were just mentioning that the
Mhm.
paper notices that go out with the bill help people to become aware. I mean, I've noticed it when it's time to get brush removed and stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So I don't know if this would be something you could add in there to be able to get people to know that there might be some enforcement if the
Yeah.
city commission wants to do that.
Commissioner Lowry.
I guess I don't know that I should bring this up, but one of the reasons that the ordinance regarding removing snow from sidewalks, requiring the property owner to remove it, it's stayed on the books, but it's never really been enforced. There have been court cases in Michigan, downstate, where it was done, and basically the court determined that it was slavery. If you're not gonna be
Oh,
able
wow.
to remove it, and it
Wow.
was, they did quite a ways back, but I can't recall the age, but, and basically, the same criteria could probably be extended to requiring them to maintain the right of way, but, the case involved requiring people to move snow, and especially when, you have elderly or disabled populations that can't do it themselves, you're requiring them to have an outlay of money, basically, that isn't uniform, so it was considered an extra tax, and it was also, it wasn't term slavery, but I think it was in the judge's decision that his terminology was, it was akin to slavery. Something I recall from a long time ago, but it was Michigan case law. And really, I think, I know resources are not what they were when I worked there, but I still think that internally the city could devote more effort to the sidewalk clearing, whether it's having regular assigned operators or a different shift or whatever. That was one of the ways we accomplished the most sidewalk plowing was to had 2 people on an afternoon shift and 2 routes, and that was their primary duty, was to show up for work and get on the machine and go run the route, unless it was really coming down to where it wasn't gonna do any good and they were needed on street plows or sanders instead. But normally the day shift stayed over and took care of the streets, and the 2 dedicated workers to put on sidewalks. They weren't always ready to get through in time for the kids to get to school, but they got done once a day if there was a storm, and it really made a difference, I think.
So what about this line I added here? Enforcement of obstruction should be increased? It's not really in the same as removing.
You can like expand on that and say that people plowing into the sidewalks. Does that make sense to you?
The police will respond and talk to or ticket operators that plow the snow out into the road. You know if they are being asked to ticket the ones that are blocking sidewalks or not?
I don't know that. I just see it all over that, I mean,
But I know, I mean, even just seeing the police report in the paper.
Yeah.
They do follow up on the ones that are pushing it out into the road.
right,
I don't see
Right.
where they've been asked to
right,
deal with the ones on the sidewalk.
right. So, yeah, emphasizing that it's a good, really good idea. Okay, I don't know that we can do any more with public transportation. You could offer that, planning commissioners could be brought into any kind of effort that is being made by the manager's office or the city commission. But we have a route that we've, adopted into the master plan, a draft route that we've tried to get some movement on for several years. It's been about 5 years, 4 or 5 years since we were actually really active with talking to Mark Tran about it. Went to some of their meetings. At the time, we were basically told, well, look, the pandemic's gutted our organization. We're having a hard time getting drivers back up. They weren't running all their routes yet. And the other thing is they were saying, well, Ishpeming and Nagani would like to have more service too. That's true, but I don't think those cities have nearly the demand that is now kind of bubbling over in Marquette. I hear it a lot from people that they want to see Marquette to have some kind of better transit service.
I've been seeing new vehicles, they've got like Sprinter vans residents that are running around too. So
Yeah.
maybe it's time to
Yeah,
reopen that conversation if
right.
they've been investing into the transportation.
Yeah, in some communities, they've created effective transit without being part of a public transit system. I mean, they've had people do private efforts where they bought a van and started, their own service. There's some communities that's where their transit started, as these private efforts. And maybe that could be what's going to happen here. Because I don't know how much longer we can hope MarkTran is gonna help us out. But the thing about MarkTran is they do get Federal Transit Authority funding, and if there's any of that left, I mean, it was a pretty good source for both capital, like buying actual equipment, buses and vans, and operating funds. I mean, there was quite a bit of money available for that stuff.
Commissioner Lowry?
If it was 5 years ago that was presented to them, they've got a new director.
Well, this was after Bill was the director.
Oh, okay, so it's probably got
But-
different board members. Who is the city's representative on
Well,
board right now?
Taylor Klipp is on the board. So is Sean Hobbins.
They should be advocates for
Yeah.
this.
I know.
Taylor was, I think, on this commission when we originally developed that route.
Yeah, and he was the chair of the planning commission for a while, and I think he went there with great optimism, but I think he was beaten down by the pandemic like everybody else. I mean, that organization really did get beaten down by the pandemic.
There is
Oh, it was.
one source of money that they get every, something like every third or fourth, fifth year, whenever there's a special category F, I think it is. They share it with the city, with the road commission, a few other agencies, but it's grant money that comes every year to be split among those agencies, and it's like $375,000, or it used to be anyway, per year. And so it's not enough to really do a project with. So everybody takes turns getting it. There's a committee that meets once a year to decide which project they're gonna do. The transit authority gets a seat at that table and is supposed to be shared in there. So they're kind of left, okay, we're gonna do this road project. Well, now by that, by the third year, fourth year, we gotta give it to the transit authority to do something. And they usually apply it to equipment, but
I'll tell you a little story real quick about that. The last time they had that money, there was some left over. There was like $20,000, or no, it was around 70 or 80. And I thought, well, okay, if we can match, there's a 20% match. I was trying to get interest in getting a match and getting that money and building bus shelters on the route that we had adopted into the master plan. Right across the street here, there's a space that'd be perfect for a bus shelter. And I even had them priced out and had 5 locations for bus shelters, but the end decision was we can't come up with $12,000 for that. I mean, the city's been in austerity mode for now, like 5 years. I
well, I
mean,
think that's how the original bus shelters were around town.
yeah,
Might be one left out at Lincoln Avenue, I think.
Yeah.
But there was probably 10 or 12. I think that's how they were originally funded. I think that's how the bike racks and ski racks and the buses were funded too, with that money. So it's not available every year, and I'm sure they have their own wish list for it, but it's something that we could suggest,
right.
maybe even align things, with them in the city budget and see a year or two down the road when they are eligible for it, the progress can be made with it.
So if anybody wants to go to a Mark-Tran meeting this winter, that'd probably be a good idea. I mean, we could go to a meeting and sit in and ask some questions. I really think that would be valuable for people from the city that are really interested in transit to start going to their meetings and asking some questions. So this is one of the things that, when Sarah was here, we talked about this, just asking for a regular meeting to be scheduled in the fall. And so that's the last of those recommendations. There's really not a next steps thing unless there's some kind of project we were doing, but, anything you guys wanna?
The only thing I would say is that I like the meeting, the idea of the meeting, if we have specific things that we are planning on intending to work on for the LDC.
Yeah.
But it felt pretty general last
Mhm.
year and not directed.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to come prepared with questions for us, the feedback. It was kind of disjointed a little bit.
Right.
It was kind of a shame.
It was disappointing.
Yeah.
Because I kind of thought there would be some questions for the planning commission.
And I didn't experience that.
No.
When they were there. They were
No.
like, all right, will you ask us questions? We're like,
Yeah,
well, that's why we're here is you ask us questions.
right.
And felt like, I don't know, it
Yeah,
didn't feel as effective as it could have been.
right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And maybe asking them for questions of us is almost too much for them.
Right.
So,
So maybe the planning commission needs to formulate some conversation points, talking points for the meeting,
right, and,
questions for them.
right, yeah.
Just a good use of both groups' time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is one of the things, back to that redevelopment ready communities program, that's one of the things they recommend is that you have at least one meeting every year between the city commission and planning commission.
In reference to what she was talking about, maybe a sheet that has questions or whatever, so when people get called to the city,
Yeah.
they can look down and say, oh, that, and know
Who
which
knows?
department to send it to, or
Yeah.
who to defer it to, so that people aren't running around in circles.
If
I
not,
think we should get, oh, go ahead.
What about talking about the recommendations that we have?
I was just going to say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they could always fall back to those.
Yeah.
And those would be
follow up on the
good.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep it. I think that just because it was the first one, and I don't think anybody really knew, kind of probably get around at each other like, okay, who's our
Mhm.
first?
Yeah.
And I think that keeping it's a good idea.
Okay. Do we have a time frame where we would be asking for that meeting?
Well, sometime in the fall. Just probably before the holidays or, at least before the Christmas, mid-December. Probably be good to do it before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And that might be, they seem to have a lot of meetings, of course, the budget meetings, those have been pushed farther and farther into the year since I've been here. But yeah, everything seems to be a little more last minute on the budget issue, but they seem to have a lot more of these special work sessions in the spring and early summer than they do in the fall. So, and we're going to be starting work on LDC stuff in the fall, pretty much. We have some issues lined out that we want to start working on, and I think from our experience this last time where we thought, oh, this isn't going to be as much as we've had in the past, and it ended up being more than we ever did before. We want to start even earlier this time on getting those lined out.
Maybe if that's the case, if we're starting in We have like an agenda of what we're looking at before that meeting.
Yeah.
So in early November, before Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about those LDC proposed amendments and the stuff that's on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything want to add to this?
I don't have anything else.
I think on this last one, maybe just mentioning that we want to focus also on these topics at our work session.
Okay.
So that they have an understanding of what we want to discuss.
Okay. Good with that? Okay. Well, I don't have anything else.
All right. That's the end of our work session then. Commission and staff comments. We'll start down there.
Just a thank you to Wayne after all the years that he's sitting somehow. So thank you for all this time for us.
No comment.
Just second the comment, for Wayne.
No comment.
I have two things, I guess, I'm curious about for future meetings, for the answers tonight, but, the new northern housing projects on Presque Isle, do we know exactly what they're planning there in the way of pedestrian crossings of Presque Isle in particular? Is there gonna be a bridge of any kind or different traffic controls in place or?
I think there has been some agreement on crosswalks at Center and Summit Streets. I don't know if they're enhanced crosswalks. I can't remember details about.
Those have been
I know.
there for a while, actually.
Yeah.
They took the one out at Center, I think.
Yeah.
Took the flasher out for it anyway.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, that, if that was a project that came, under our purview and came through here, we'd have had, I think, a lot of concerns about
Yeah.
pedestrians crossing with the traffic count that's there. And we didn't really have the opportunity to look at that. I think before they're completed, either this body or the police department or the traffic and parking committee or somebody really needs to make sure that there's whatever safety measures can be taken, they're taken there before it's too late.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And secondly, I think you mentioned that in a past meeting that Habitat for Humanity is proposing to build homes on the north parking lot of the Marquette Medical Center.
Mm-hmm.
If I recall correctly, the city bought the access rights to McClellan Avenue through much of that corridor. And that's why that parking lot had to have its driveway approach on Center Street. Do we know, or is that changing? Are they gonna put individual driveways out onto McClellan, or is that gonna be serviced by an alley in the back off of Center Street, or
You're gonna be individual driveways.
directly onto McClellan Avenue?
Yeah. Right, Andrew? That was the concept plan.
I think we might have to go back and
Yeah.
do some legal work, because I don't know if it applied to that frontage exactly or not, but I think there were some restrictive covenants put in place on some of that frontage to ban driveways.
Okay.
Those might have to be reversed. Like I said, I don't know if it specifically applied to that section right there or not.
Okay. Well, let the city engineer know.
And it might have been tied to the federal grant money that paid for building that section of the roadway.
Okay. All right. Good point.
Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Pikes.
Yeah, sorry to see Wayne go. It was great to see his perspective on a lot of the discussions that came through here and decisions. Learned a lot from him just by being on the board. So I think we'd be a part of that. And was really excited to see the changes and the developments that came through today, with the new housing. That they took the time to listen to the community and make the changes that the community wanted to see. So it was wonderful. And I'm happy it's gone through very well. That's all from me.
Any staff comments?
Just would like to thank Wayne for his many, many, many years of service to the community through being on the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission.
We are going to have a meeting. We have something for the next,
Mhm.
what is that coming up?
The 16th,
Yeah,
2 rezonings.
right. So we will have a meeting. There will be public hearings, 2 public hearings for rezoning. One of them's the PUD. Let's see, one of them's Dave Olola's PUD, Shop House Park, expired. It's got to be rezoned back to, he has a plan for a new development up there under the zoning that's going to go into place. But what's the other rezoning?
1700 Division Street.
Stosh, or not Stosh. Logan Stauber, who was here talking to us a lot during the LDC, has got a plan he's going to be working on if he can get it rezoned for the storage. He wants to do some storage use out on that property in South Marquette. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
My comment is that I'm sad to see Wayne go. I think he provided an invaluable perspective. He's going to be difficult to replace. And with that, adjourn this meeting at 8:18.